Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another Supatease video. And week 2 of the AWC has begun on Wednesday with the open qualifiers. I wanted to run you through the teams that are going to be making it into this weekend, which ones are the best of the bunch, and it seems like a lot has mixed up and quite a few new teams are coming into the competition with some new compositions, which is very exciting. I can't wait to see the tournament this weekend. The first thing that you're going to notice in North America is that the Golden Guardians remain completely undefeated, and I mean not only just series but in actual overall games. They haven't lost a single game since week 1 into week 2, and look who they just beat to get in the top 8. They beat Luminosity Gaming, the reigning champions of North America for literally years. Didn't drop a game. Crazy stuff coming out from them. That's, of course, WizK, Peekaboo, Jellybeans, and Absterge. They've been playing the Shadow Priest, Rogue Shaman, but I do know that Jellybeans has been stepping out and learning Warlock so that they can have some backup compositions should the Shadow Priest, Rogue Shaman start to not work for them. And that's one meta thing that you're going to really want to take into account here, is that Shadow Priest plus Resto Shaman is a lot better this weekend, and maybe something that you could take for yourself to experiment on the ladder with. The next team that has made it into the top 6 is the Super One-Shot Frogs. This is Chun-Li, this is Wealthy Man, and this is Flop. And this is Cubsy, and they've been playing some very peculiar wizard comps, although it seems in the open bracket stage that they kind of stuck to their guns a little bit more with Demonology, Elemental Shaman, and Resto Druid. They're one of the few Resto Druid teams in North America, but they're making it work here. So these two teams are looking like really awesome contenders, but can they deal with the Shadow Priest Rogue Shaman? Because honestly, I'm wondering if that's going to be adopted by Europe at all as like the meta composition, because it's so good. They're undefeated. Like, why are they the only people playing it? It's really confusing to me that they're the only ones playing it with such an insane track record. The next team's getting into the top 6 is Dukamify. This is a team that was in the lower bracket last week. This time, they've stepped up their game, and they're in the top 6. And I'm curious if they've added a new member to their team or not. So it does look like they've got 4 players on the roster now. They've got Calvish, they've got Nick, they've got Tuna, and they've got Kearney. So they've got a little bit more healer flexibility here, I believe, with bringing Tuna onto the roster. This is a team like Rogue Mage, Rogue Warlock. I'm wondering maybe if they've got Rogue Shadow Priest as well, but the fact that they're in the upper side of the bracket is definitely a big step up for them, and they're looking like they're going to be a lot better. The next team in the top 6 is going to be Liquid, and they beat No Answer once again. So No Answer apparently has No Answer still, even moving into week 2. But Liquid was playing a Holy Priest this time around, from what I observed in the open bracket stage, which was really weird. The only team playing a Holy Priest. So if you guys were wondering about class balance or what's looking good or what's strong and like which ones are clearly the best, it's really tough to say at this point. They did still focus on their Balance Druid and their Rogue, but Cedu was playing a Holy Priest, and he seemed to be still kind of fresh at it. So even still being fresh at it, they got into the top 6 with this new healer pickup. So very exciting to see what they're going to be doing. In the lower side of the bracket, we can see that Luminosity Gaming stayed alive. They made it through. They beat Unitas, and this is honestly surprising because Unitas is a roster that combined European players like Chaz, BlizzCon champion, onto a roster with Thugonomics, and you were really expecting this team to do really big things, and they haven't been able to get into the top 8 2 weeks in a row. So hopefully they're going back into practice. We're going to see them come back stronger, because honestly, this was a roster that I was thinking was going to be like tearing up North America. So really surprising. But Luminosity Gaming, reigning North American champions, really no surprise here. The only thing is that Drake has been playing Subtlety Rogue a bit more. From what I observed, they started playing the same composition as Golden Guardians in the last game of their series, and it was a really close game. So they might be a really threatening Shadow Priest Rogue team moving into the competition. Now the Fuse is lit. This is I believe a new team to the top 8. So we're going to go into more further detail here. This is Rosita Jones. This is Agony. This is Dazed. This is Fuse. So this team has likely got like a Rogue Mage type of setup. Maybe some Boomkin comps if Fuse is playing Boomkin, but I do remember him being a Feral Druid. I've seen this team on the ladder a few times, so it should be really exciting to watch them. Rosita Jones games back at BlizzCon. If you go back in the history history books on the YouTube channels and check out that. He had some of the most exciting games when he was on Panda Global, making the finals North America versus North America. It was like one of the most hyped series we ever had when they ended the Method Triforce, I think it was called, the dynasty that they had in Arena. It was really awesome. Now in the other lower half, Lost in Lihue, like I have to worry about mispronouncing their name this weekend, did not make it into the top 8. They were defeated by Better to Respect. And when we dive into this team, Existence, Arc, and Mooney, from what I observed in their open bracket games, they play Shadow Priest, Warrior Shaman. So one of the only teams to be running that composition, 3-player roster. Really exciting to see what this composition can do in the competitive play, just because it's completely new. Then we move into the last team. We've got RNG. No answer. They picked up a 4th member. Weren't able to get into the top 8 this weekend. RNG was able to beat them. So very impressive showing for them. This is Nazem's team. And typically, Nazem has been playing kind of Windwalker, Warlock Healer, or Feral Warlock Healer. Those are the comps that he has historically played in competitive tournaments in around this top 6 phase. So I do wonder if he's going to be staying with that type of play style or if they're going to be bringing something completely new. But I would almost 100% anticipate that he's playing Destruction Warlock, because that's kind of just his thing that he does. So North America has a whole bunch of new teams that didn't, in a lot of the previous week, didn't make it in. New compositions, new rosters, big opportunities, and really starting to show like that this meta has a lot of options in it. Now when we go into Europe, these are going to be some familiar teams right off the bat here. We got Echo, reigning champions from week 1, and this is kind of Raikou and Waz and Mez team and Chanimal, and they're likely going to be still playing, I think, the Boomkin Demonology Warlock, at least until somebody in Europe shows that there's a comp that can beat it. I'm expecting that they'll still be playing that. And what's weird about Europe is that it just seems like there aren't any Resto Shamans that are competing in these tournaments, because the Shadow Priest Rogue Priest and Shadow Priest Resto Shaman comps in North America are starting to take over, but they're almost non-existent in Europe. And I think it's just Shamans are more popular in the region, and maybe Shamans aren't signing up or aren't able to sign up for these events. And that's why it seems so much more limited. But the Agents will be facing them right away in the upper bracket. This is the grand finals last week. And the Agents were the team that utilized Mercy on the Affliction Warlock. They had Brunhilde on a Demon Hunter. And of course, Zeepa and Elemental Shaman, just staple team, staple players. Should be really exciting to see what they've brought for week 2 to try and take down Echo. We got Giga Chads here on the upper side of the bracket. This is a new team to the top 6. This is Trend's team and DRX, which I'm assuming is Drainer, Jazz, GG, and Laser. Now, I don't know if this is Laser Chicken BlizzCon champion, if this is just his new tag, but from the game that I saw, they were running Boomkin Warlock, and they've got a Demon Hunter. So they're running Boomkin Demon Hunter and Boomkin Warlock. So very similar compositions to that of Echo. So they're definitely a promising team with big names and a good track history of tournament play. So definitely a good one to get behind. Admirals Esports, as would be somewhat expected here. This is Swapsy's team making it into the top 6 again. Curious to see what they're going to use with Blizzo, because we saw him on Fury Warrior for a game last weekend. Didn't go 100% their way, and it seemed like they were still trying to figure out what their comps were going to be 100%. They played a little bit of Boomkin Demon Hunter, a little bit of Fury Warrior Boomkin, comps that we'd never really seen before in tournament play. And now with a week gone by, like, what are they going to be bringing into the competition is really going to be the question that we need to ask. But they're always an exciting team to watch with really big names on them. Now, in the lower side of the bracket for Europe, we have teams that are new. We got a bunch of new teams. We got Nice Beam. We're going to have to check this out. We got Aeritros, Corki, Numliz, and PMake. Now, this is a stacked roster, likely running, Boomkin comps with Corki on here. So we got a lot of Boomkins coming in hot for Europe, and a lot more Shadow Priests in North America seems to be the big difference. But this is a team that I'm looking out for. Aeritros competed at BlizzCon. Corki's been competing for a really long time on Boomkin. Numliz and PMake going to be rounding out this roster, so they have a bit of comp flexibility as well. So really exciting team in the lower bracket. A lot of returning names that I was wondering if they were going to be competing or not this week, and now we get to see it. The next new team, Tyrannical Haters in the lower side, is Alex, Goose, Tittery, and T-Jack. So Tittery's jumping off the page to me as a mage player who's been playing Rogue Mage through multiple expansions that I've casted. Some of these B-tag names don't match up 100% with what I remember their in-game names are, so I'm kind of guessing here that this is likely some type of Rogue Mage composition, just because that's what Tittery has played a lot in the past, but I'm sure that this could flex a bit given that it's 4 players. So this could be a surprise team. Very curious to see how it plays, but I'm imagining it's going to be something focusing around Mage. So new team, Tyrannical Haters here on the lower side of the bracket. We got 2 more teams that have made it into Europe to cover. And look, it's the return of the Fiends, one of the crowd favorites. Another Holy Priest team, actually, here with Big Mix, Rat, and Zen. They run Survival Hunter, Holy Priest, and Subtlety Rogue. They're the only team that does it. And they've actually made it into the top 8 this time around. They weren't able to in week 1. So very exciting to see new compositions, new healers flexed out here into week 2. And the next team, Casual Granddads, they made it back into the top 8 once again. And this team is Clyde, Alec, Walrick, and Nixie. Really big names again on this roster. I'm imagining Alex probably putting more time into Boomkin, and maybe Walrick is as well. They're going to want to round the roster out with like Boomkin Rogue or Boomkin Warlock as their main compositions, and maybe Rogue Mage is like a failsafe if they absolutely need to. But you can see new teams coming in from week 1. We've got a couple of new classes. I'd say the big highlight from this week is that Shadow Priest and Resto Shaman is gaining popularity and gaining traction, at least in North America. The fact that Golden Guardians remain completely undefeated in any single series, they haven't lost a single game, is really impressive, and also a testament to how strong that comp is. And we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out this weekend. So if you enjoyed this weekly recap of the AWC, definitely smash that subscribe button. Always trying to bring you guys educational and entertaining content related to World of Warcraft, and your support is greatly appreciated. And I will see you in the next one.